Thanks for having me. Yeah, I graduated about 3 years ago, and tonight I'm reading a piece of fiction, short fiction, which I'm not that experienced in, I guess. And recently I've actually sort of turned my back on fiction a little bit for a multitude of reasons, but I don't know. I think this one's okay. It's I'm really at the moment in terms of writing, I'm interested in what love does and how it works against empathy at the same time as well, the idea is that it should be empathetic, but it's not always how it goes. There's a Kurt Vonnegut quote from Slapstick that is sort of just always in my head, which is, please a little less love, a little more common decency. This story is called Two Snakes. He drops to the floor before I realize what's happened. He'd been holding the snakes at arm's length in front of him. They twisted in his hand, scales shifting against scales. He presented them like they were his only purpose, the whole of him contained. Look upon me, glory of God. Now, people in the front row are standing up, the white noise of shock and fear rippling down the makeshift pews like a tide. The big guy, the pastor, rushes over, one hand out like a running back, deflecting the collective gaze of onlookers, the other holding his flip phone to his ear. Stay back, give him air. They usher everyone out from under the marquee. In the sun, we listen to the sirens as they approach. The young man is hoisted into the back of an ambulance and the doors slam shut. Is he moving? Asks Jo, restless on her feet, craning her neck. I couldn't see, I say. What kind of snakes were they? She asks. One was a timber rattlesnake, says Maddie. The other was a cottonmouth. Pretty much as bad as one another, but I don't know how they're going to figure out which anti-venom to give the kid. We'd found the revival event on Facebook. Its main attraction was the serpent handling, technically illegal. Jo was fascinated with all that crap. And even though it was a long drive from Louisville, Maddie was happy to take us, see what all the fuss is about. No one says much on the drive home. We pull up to Maddie's apartment block, dark brick and wooden balconies. Can you believe it? Something like this would cost twice as much in Melbourne. Jo and I sit on the couch in silence while Maddie does something in her room. I put my hand on Jo's, but still we say nothing. Maddie comes out and says, "What do you say we wander down to the river? It's nice this time of day." Maddie's been in Kentucky for less than 6 months, but already there's an added twang to the edges of her words. She looks good, leading us down the quiet street, shaded with green trees, past the little boxes that emulate bird sounds at the pedestrian crossings. She looks good in her Nike tank top and lycra tights, which seem to be dominating her wardrobe now. She's constantly sipping from a metal canister full of water. Lemon slice is in the bottom, thank you very much. As we get closer to the riverfront, there's a brief explosion of activity they call the tourism center. A few themed restaurants and bars, a dance club upstairs, Taco Bell, KFC. Down at the water, Jo leans on the iron railing and stares out across the river. The sun's setting. Its reflection on the river looks like mercury. A little further up, there's a giant bridge, and it really feels like we're in America. That's Indiana? Jo points to the opposite shore. Maddie shrugs. Isn't it Illinois? I say. No, it's Indiana, Jo says. It doesn't matter, because the names are just familiar sounds to trick us into thinking we know where we are. Jo is staring at the water as if she can observe the riverbed, and I know she's wishing we were back home. We walk back to Maddie's, stopping at Walmart on the way. It's like some sort of bizarro world. Everything's familiar enough on the surface, but when I look closer, I don't recognize any of the brand names. Products aren't where I'd expect them to be, and the checkout girls are all sitting instead of standing. I don't mention the bizarro world thing to Jo. I feel like I've been knocked off my axis until we get back to Maddie's. She has all the same posters on her walls that she used to have back in Melbourne, the same records, the same bedspread. It happened about 6 months ago, just before Maddie moved to the States. Jo was away at the time, visiting family. It's okay, we'll catch up before she goes. It's not like we're that close. We stopped. I stopped. Like, what was I doing? Like, what the fuck? Jesus. And I moved away from her in the bed. A few silent minutes passed in the still dark before Maddie sighed and said, "Now all I can think about is blowjobs." "Can I ask you not to tell anyone about this?" I said. More silence, more darkness, then another sigh. "I know what you mean when you say that. You don't want this getting back to Jo. I know, better than most, how gossip travels. But I'll need to debrief with someone. I promise there won't be anyone attached to your peer groups." I felt like a fool the way she talked down to me. Poor thing, you don't know what you're doing. Like I needed the reassurance. I guess I did need it. I wish then that I hadn't stopped. She rolled over, bunching up under the covers, and wriggled into me, little spoon. I traced words on her back with a finger. I thought about my decisions, like forks in a trail. I'd chosen a path and gotten lost, hoping every turn might take me back to some place that felt like home, but there was no such thing. I wouldn't ever say the invisible things I wrote on Maddie's shoulder blade. I woke up in her bed and we went to brunch like everything hadn't changed. The cafe looked like it had been a laundromat in a former life. On the wall behind the rescued driftwood counter hung a rescued sign that read milk bar. I ordered a quinoa and cauliflower salad. Maddie had a tuna sandwich. We ate at the window facing the street, sunlight pouring in. Jo gets back tonight, I said. She didn't look up from her food and kind of shrugged, kind of like, how are you going to deal with that? You don't have anything to say? I said everything. She put down the sandwich. We're supposed to be friends. I love the crap out of you. I feel like I made a mistake because of your situation, and because we're friends. I'm trying to remind myself that's your responsibility, your problem. I don't feel like I made a mistake. I suppose it's good I'm leaving. We went 2 mouthfuls without saying anything. Then I said, I love you too, you know. I know, but there's more than one way to love someone. Jo stares at the wall in the guest room. I brush my teeth and stare at the back of her head, and it's like, come on, you know. I go to the bathroom to spit, and when I return, she says, what do you think happened to him? I sit beside her and put my hand on top of hers. I guess they took him to the hospital. She looks at me like she hates me. Try not to think about it. I mean, those guys know the risks. It's illegal, for God's sake. No. What they know is that those risks don't apply to them. They believe they're safe. They know they won't get bitten. But that's not reality, Jo. You don't get it. Even if he doesn't die from this, everything he thought he knew about himself has been disproven. Suddenly, I see the past year stretched out behind me like a road I didn't want to drive down in the first place, and the realization I'd been deceiving her, trivializing her own faith in me, in the idea of us, simply because I didn't share it. You're right, I say. She turns back to the wall and her hand slides out from underneath mine. We get breakfast the next morning. I sit across the table from the 2 women, waiting for their order, my coffee and fried eggs already in front of me. Maddie's wearing another tank top, and Jo is dressed in a trademark, a flannelette shirt thrown over a black tee, which is tucked into her high-waisted jeans. She's looking intently at her cup. She does this every time we get coffee, sprinkles brown sugar over the surface of her flat white. It rests on the foam for a moment, a chemical indecision to either caramelize in the heat or sink and dissolve in the liquid. Before it has the chance to commit, she'll skim it off the top and softly chew/suck it. It's the little things, yum. But American coffee doesn't allow for this. I got the black swill from the filter, the stuff that makes you feel like an electric wire, carrying power and data and making things work. No flat whites in America, so Jo ordered a cappuccino. Big mug, a marshmallow dome of milk froth, and the white, refined sugar just falls through it, ruining the whole cup, making it too sweet to drink. Our last day in Louisville passes like an obligation. We fuck around downtown, go look at the derby track, then just watch TV at Maddie's while she taps away at her laptop. Maddie leaves for a run, declaring that when she gets back, we'll go out to a bar, meet a friend of hers, he's cool, can't wait. Jo goes to lay down and I'm left on the couch watching the news and ads for things that may cause anxiety, depression, diarrhea, etc. I open up Facebook and start scrolling. Joe's uploaded an entire exhibition since we've been away. Here's us at the top of the Empire State, us wearing Red Sox caps, baseball diamond behind us, dozens of nondescript locations, buildings, parks, museums. It's either the 2 of us together or just me, smiling wide, with a spray of comments like, so cute, so jealous, happy for you guys, hope you're having the best time. We meet Maddie's friend, Barry, a big guy with thick rimmed glasses and a manicured beard. He throws his hands around as he speaks, and his voice is like an air horn through the thrum of the student bar. It's Thursday night, cheap drinks, 2 for 1, exam period, stress relief. Barry lubricates us with round upon round of beer, hassling Jo to drink faster. Come on, girl, I thought you Aussies loved beer. Barry's teaching queer theory this semester. Maddie leans over the table on her elbows, pushing her breasts together, and I forcibly have to stop myself from looking at her cleavage. You should totally read his thesis, it's inspired. Come on, he says, flinging a hand at her. Everyone knows you're the darling star of the gender and sexuality department. The polyamory princess. I hate it, she yells at him, laughing. So, how do you guys? Barry lazily points his fingers at Jo and me, and Maddie, and then back again. We've been through some stuff over the years, Maddie says, still leaning forward. And Joanna? It's Joe, thanks. Oh, so serious. Maddie falls back into her seat. Joe's been having a hard time. We saw one of those snake shows. The guy got bitten. Again? I tell you, and he turns to Joe, raises an eyebrow. One of those maniacs dies each week. Seriously, they don't learn. I've chalked it up to natural selection at this point. Maddie smirks at me, a look I remember from before she pitied me, before we kissed. It erases my feeling of displacement for her to look at me like that, in this alien bar, sparkling with noise and light. It feels safe. I smile back, like, I can't help this. Then Joe's up and out the door. I run after her, past Barry's raised eyebrows, elbowing my way to the exit. Joe has her back to me when I catch up to her at the end of the block. The traffic lights throw up a drugged light show in the barren street. Joe, I say. She doesn't turn around. I'm lightheaded. No, I'm drunk. We have to fly out early, and suddenly I'm exhausted. The lights color the road's surface, orange to red, then green. Thank you.